Hey, what's happening, everyone? It's sportsbookreview.com, and we march into madness, and it is March. What a crazy month. And as Donnie has already told you, tell your girlfriends, tell your wives, see you in mid-April. We've also got Max. Max, what a crazy week for us. Absolutely couldn't do anything wrong. And then the weekend, crazy results, crazy performances.
Absolutely. We saw some of the top teams in the nation go down. And if you had a little number before your name, well, you were in upset central, and we saw the upsets pour and pile in. Most devastating and upsetting being yesterday's Creighton loss to the Johnnies. Everybody and their mother was on the Johnnies. I wasn't. I took it in the freaking bottom mouth. But I'm back here today. I'm pumped. I'm ready. And it's March Madness, baby. Bring it on.
I love it. I love it. I have been totally mad. And we've got the boys in the chat already. I want to hear some of your stories over the weekend. Because after Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, couldn't do a thing wrong, Donnie. Come Saturday, Sunday, wow. Crazy performances, crazy results. Just talk me through Virginia putting up 52. I'm winning. Slow.
Yeah, I mean, we can start a petition here. I don't know if Max would be behind this, but I think he might be. Like, if you can just say, you know what, Virginia, we're all going to sign a petition that doesn't even allow you to compete in March Madness. Maybe we can have a separate tournament where you don't even need the shot clock. And if you see some of these high school teams that are coming out, just putting the ball under their arm and sitting there around half court with a 4-2 final, that's Virginia. They're bad for basketball. They were actually a little bit okay to watch last year because they had some really good guns with Ty Jerome and the boys able to absolutely shoot daggers. But this is the most boring team in college basketball. I am rooting for a first-round exit just like they had just a few years ago because they're bad for basketball. Look, hey, everybody likes to root against Duke. Let me tell you, Duke brings the ratings. I'd much rather have Duke have a run in the tournament than Virginia any day of the week, Flash.
But you, Max, and I, and everyone in the chat, and everyone that has a bet on the Saturdays knows what Virginia are going to bring to the table. So you play up tempo, you get them straight out of their comfort zone. No, they were like a little moth in the cobweb who couldn't move. Killed me, not just them. Maryland, don't tell me that they haven't took their foot off the gas and they're like, we'll see you in a couple of weeks, Max.
Hey, listen, like Donnie always says, if you get down double digits early, it's hard to get that momentum back, and that's exactly what Maryland succumbed to. Michigan State was able to be highly efficient early. They took it to the rim. They got Xavier Tillman going, and Xavier Tillman took Jalen Smith to school all game long. It was a sad, disgusting game for me to watch because I was all over Maryland like butter on toast. But we'll get some revenge back in March and possibly in the conference tournament.
Okay, what about Baylor? Going down again, Donnie. 75-72. Two defeats very, very quickly.
Yeah, it's one of those where when you look at Baylor, it's hard to have an extended run in college basketball. I mean, the season starts the first week of November. Now you're going all the way through. You have your eyes on the prize, and maybe after that Kansas game, you took the loss and said, you know what, let's take a deep breath. Let's just see if we can now get into the conference tournament, make some hay, but also the ultimate goal, getting to Atlanta and playing in the Final Four. Maybe a little malaise setting in. I'm not ready to ring that bell and say, oh, my God, what's wrong with Baylor? I don't think they can go anywhere in the tournament. Their game suits very well for playing an aircraft carrier NFL domes come March Madness. I'm not worried about them just yet, Flash.
Okay, not worried about them. I think there's plenty of people that are, Donnie. Max, San Diego State. What a comeback from them boys.
Yeah, listen, Malachi Flynn came in and put in work. Career scoring game, shot maker, ice in his veins. That kid is one of the best transfer pickups that you could have pulled off the West Coast, and the Aztecs are blessed to have him. Nevada threw their best shot, but Jalen Harris got frustrated, crying to the refs, not making shots, not executing on defense. And you know what? Listen, these Aztecs, they showed some grit, and I like that when it comes to March. Grit wins.
Let me say a very, very good morning to a good friend of all of ours, and that's DJ Big Boss. Up very early. Remember, he's 2 hours behind, so either he's not gone to bed or he's not very well. Could be both. Donnie, we're approaching the conference, the tournaments, the comps. Now we'll see some teams, now or never, got to produce.
Yeah, no, we're taking a look at, approaching the conference tournaments and like how to look and how to bet in this type of time, because Mondays, it's usually a little bit easier. And tomorrow we're going to get more into, taking a shot at some of these conferences. Once we actually get the odds, we're hitting some long shots. The bigger tournaments odds are up on most of the websites now, but obviously with these smaller tournaments that are starting tomorrow, keep in mind, we'll be able to have some fun and pick some long shots and also go over the brackets and how they set up. But just looking at how to approach some of these conference tournaments, keep in mind also, do your own research on these games. This is what I mean. There's other larger companies out there that are putting out, hey, look, March Madness is here. Here's the conference tournament schedule, and putting in parentheses like who's the home team. Some of those are wrong. So do your own research, because Max will tell you right now, if you're looking to say, hey, you know what? Home court advantage. I can't wait. Wait a second. This game was played at a neutral court. Or how about, why were the first two brackets in these actually at the home court, and then they moved to a bigger city like the MAC tournament does in the Midwest? Make sure you know who's home. Make sure you know who's away. Make sure you know where these conference tournaments at to get that maximum value. And also heading into it, it's win or go home, as Flash just put it there. And what I mean by that is at the end of basketball games, these tournaments early on are one-bid leagues. So now when you see during the maybe regular season, January, February, late in the game, down 5, down 6 with 10 seconds to go, hey, guys, no foul, no foul. These guys are going to foul right up to 0.1 on the clock. Maybe you get an added bonus. Maybe you didn't factor that in, but certainly something to keep your eye on.
Yeah, Max, that's exactly what I wrote down, Donnie. Max, desperation in them last minute and a half of games. So we're going to have plenty of value on the overs, you would have thought.
I think that definitely in some matchups you're going to be able to have that. I think that you also have to take into consideration what we've seen in college basketball so far this year. We've seen a lot less accuracy when it comes to three-point shooting, unless you're a deadly three-point shooter anyways. We've seen a lot of guys trying to be able to receive passes in those three-point corners, and because of the new dimensions, what's happening? They're stepping out of bounds and they're turning the ball over, and that could be at 6 or 7 seconds left in the shot clock. So that could have an effect on totals. Also, when we get into conference tournaments, let's not forget, if some of these guys are playing on back-to-back games or back-to-back-to-back, those first half unders or those second half unders live are going to have value also. So these are the things that I probably would highlight to keep in mind. And like Donnie said, do your research, know where the tournaments are being played, know if it's played at a campus site or if it's played at a top seed site for a championship game. These are all things that are going to play into your handicap. So like Donnie said, do your own research also.
Johnny, how much is the futures betting going to be changing when the brackets come out? Because obviously Kansas sit at the top of the NCAA conference tournament. Do you think that if the bracket falls favourably, they get shorter?
Yes, no, it depends, because you're going to want to, if Kansas stays on a 1 line, that's not really going to move too much. I think we're probably going to assume that they will be. But some of these teams that make runs and win their conference tournament, maybe they were lined as like a 3 seed or a 4 seed, can drop into a 2 seed, which gives you a better avenue of getting there. Max also brings up an awesome point in college tournament basketball play, because you are going to get teams that are on that back-to-back-to-back, and some of them can get hot and ride that wave where maybe they were a 7 or 8 seed, but they're playing really well. There is no break, and it's only a one-shot tournament. So obviously, if you lose, you're going home. But also keep in mind at some of these matchups, because when you're going over and doing your homework, this is where the teams like a Syracuse, or even at a lower level in Eastern Michigan, you might have 4, 5, or 6 days to get ready for these matchup zones. Good luck going against a good man-to-man team on a Tuesday and then playing a matchup zone at noon on a Wednesday with like 8 hours to prepare for it. Those points are salient when you head into conference tournament play. It's a lot of fun for us handicappers to go over and see what would make some sense. But there's a lot of underlying value that the actual lines makers will use that say, hey, you know what? This is what the line should be. But if you dig in deeper, hey, this guy played 41 minutes last night and they went to overtime. Or this guy played 37 minutes. Now they're going to go up the next day against a team that really wants to stifle what they want to do well. Find that underlying value, and that's where it's going to be here in the tournaments.
Max, I look at this and think it's a bit of a chicken and egg situation, because do we want to be with teams that have got the high momentum, adrenaline pumping from the win the night before, and they roll in and they're already flying from the first tip-off against a team that's had 3, 4, 5 days off and it's their first game? How do you find them games?
Well, In those specific games, I try and target first half unders because I do think that some teams off a layoff, depending on a team by team basis, I look at that by, can have slow starts and be able to pick it up in second halves. We see it every day in the box scores where we see a 50-point first half and then we see 90 in the second. So it's not out of this world to believe in that. I think also we have to take note of these teams that do have momentum flash. What have we seen from teams with momentum? If they have good point guard play, a scoring guard that can make shots at the end of a game, and someone that can make free throws if you're up and you're trying to protect the lead, well, you can go all the way and win a national championship. My UConn Huskies did that. So clearing the Big East, going all the way. So it's possible. I don't think that we're going to see something like that happen like this year. I would love to. I'd love to be wrong about that. But I do think that if you have momentum and you get hot at the right time of the season, which is now, it can really benefit you as far as cashing some tickets for your backers.
Donnie, we know all about the rosters of the teams, but what about the coaches? How big a factor are they deep into the conference tournament?
Oh, that's a huge factor, monster factor, because now you're looking at the odds and ends of when teams can actually be good. Because if you have a good tactician, he's going to already have that game plan set. He's going to have a couple ideas for tomorrow if you're playing a lower level conference team or if you get a day off and you're in that double bracket. But also Max brings up a good point. Max is a UConn fan. He knows better than anybody at a team or a college getting hot in a conference tournament and riding that wave into the actual tournament itself. When you have a good coach, you know you're going to get the best out of players time and time again and make those adjustments. One of my favorite coaches in the past obviously got booted out of the NBA, John Beilein. But when you have a guy with a Rolodex of plays for any situation in conference play, because keep in mind, there's going to be more timeouts, going to be more TV timeouts, more times for if things aren't going your way. If you have a tactician on the sideline, he's going to be able to pull open that notebook and say, you know what, here's the perfect play here, or watch this matchup zone, or they're going to go zone this instead of man-to-man. They're going to pick up 1-3-1 in the half court. Good coaches will be able to figure this out, and I'm excited for it.
Yeah, everyone in the chat, we've got like 10 or 11 games that we're going to go through. Give us your opinion as well, because you're not stupid. You know as much as anybody else. Let's see if you disagree or you agree with Max. Max, we're going to start with NC State. Getting 12 against Duke. Now, we saw Duke the other night. Slow. We'll beat you at the end. And it backfired in a big way.
Yeah, I think that any time that you come off a game where you're playing Virginia, scoring the basketball is probably going to come a little bit easier to you. However, in this matchup, I don't see why we don't get a similar type of result. I'm not saying that they're going to win by 20, but I do think that they can win this game by around a range between, I wrote down 11 to 14 points. When I look at Duke, what have they changed in philosophy of offense? And that is really focus on getting the ball into Vernon Carey. They have a very talented big man that presents a lot of matchups regardless of the opponent. And I think that it's really going to have to be an emphasis on really feeding him the ball. What did we see from that last time that NC State played Duke? We saw Duke really have to put a lot of pressure on North Carolina State's starting five, not using a lot of depth, really relying on DJ Funderburk to be able to score the basketball. I don't think that's a recipe for success. I don't think that's a recipe for a win. I think that North Carolina State struggles to score the three-point shot tonight. I look towards the under. I lean towards Duke. Both are only leans, so they're not plays right now.
Okay, no, nothing official out of game one. Donnie, I don't know if it was how Virginia did so well or Duke looked so pedestrian around the paint.
Yeah, look, coming into this game, two different styles that you're going to have for Duke. I mean, Duke's one of those teams that wants to play with a lot of tempo. Virginia's going to say, no, you're not playing with a lot of tempo here. So you could see those type of factors, but now you're going to get a different look. And also you're coming off a little bit of a revenge situation. Last time these two matched up, February 19th, 88-66, and it almost felt like that game wasn't even as close as the final score even sounded. So if you take a look at NC State hitting that 88 mark against a pretty efficient team in Duke on defense, there's no reason to believe that tempo should make matchups here. And I think Duke's going to want to get back on the right side. Now, look, if Duke lost 3 of their past 4 games, let's also keep in mind it's a tough place to go into Cameron and win. Those 3 losses in their last 4 games all came on the road. The one victory at home against Virginia Tech with 88 points. The previous game they played at home versus Notre Dame, 94 points. I think Duke's going to score in this game. I think Duke's going to look to get right, and I think we're going to get some tempo here. Do I want to take the full game over total? Maybe not. Looking more towards a Duke team total overplay, which sits around 81 to 81.5. I know that came down just a little bit. It was factored in around 82. But I think that game can get in the 80s. But it's also tricky. When you get games into the 80s, you need almost a perfect game from that offense to sort of get into those numbers. Now, teams like on Saturday, Hofstra that banged 23s against a really poor defense, they're fun. But a lot has to go right to get that 82, 83, 84 points that Duke's going to need. Right now, I lean towards Duke in the morning here as a team total over. I think they can get there tempo-wise because I think NC State will be able to score a little bit here.
Okay, in the chat, we've got Ziggy007. I don't know where in the world he is, but the pubs must be open because he says Max is a freaking genius. Max, are you a genius?
I would not say I'm a genius. I would say that I'm a seasoned veteran when it comes to a couple things that I've said on previous shows, but I won't repeat on this one.
Okay, that's fair enough. Okay, Donnie, Texas Tech, plus 7.5. Going into Baylor. Baylor, I don't know. I can't judge them because obviously they've been so good. Then they have 2 defeats. I fancy the 7.5. Might be a bit of a gift if you're a Baylor fan.
Yeah, take a look at Texas Tech, which burned me. I had a video out last week. I said, you know what, semi-home game versus Oklahoma. Yeah, Texas Tech will go in there and compete. Well, Texas Tech dropped a nice 51-point spot for me and getting blown out. And then you come back and say, all right, well, in-state rival will play Texas at home. Let's get right. 68-58 loss. I'm looking for a more defensive effort in this game that they're going to come up with. But again, what are we also going to get out of Baylor? Losers of 2 of 3 games, came up a little bit short in the game of the century, as I keep on saying, down in Waco. Then you come back, beat Kansas State, drop one on the road versus TCU, and then you come back home, senior night. I don't really know what that means to a BYU squad, not a senior-laden team. Yeah, it's their last home game. They'll be excited. But again, more eyes on the prize. Looking forward to the conference tournament and then obviously making a run, trying to get Atlanta for the Final Four, which they can do. It seems like a lot of points here. I think you're going to get a really good defensive effort out of both of these teams. I would lean towards the under in this situation, especially with the turnarounds from a Saturday to Monday game playing in conference. I think these teams will slow down tempo-wise, play some good defense. I think it might stay under the total here, Flash.
Max, in your experience, is this the week where you look after your units, look after your bankroll, and just box clever?
Listen, Flash, I'm a volume player. There's no such thing as that. I'm a crab fisherman when it comes to college basketball betting. When the quota is open, the season's open, I get out on the boat and I go get my goddamn crab. Well, I'm getting my units and I'm getting out after freaking March Madness ends. So I'm going full pedal to the metal as I always do. Just want to make sure that I put our viewers on the right plays and not just every play.
Okay, and is there a play in this Texas Tech getting 7.5 against Baylor?
Yeah, listen, Flash, it's pretty hard to ignore how Baylor has played in first halves regardless of how they finish. Listen, they had problems with Kevin Samuel of TCU, but I do not think that Texas Tech has a big man of that proportion to be able to give that same kind of problems. I think that what you have to worry about is screens at the top of the circle, which is the major weakness of Baylor's defense, right in the middle at the top. That's where you can exploit them. So I think that is something that has to be shored up. And the bottom line is, when we look at Texas Tech right now, aside from the game against Iowa State, this is a team that is struggling without Terrence Shannon in the lineup. I think that even with the talent of Jameis Ramsey and the experience of Chris Clark and TJ Holyfield, it's just not going to be enough to go into Baylor and get a win. My play for this game is going to be the first half. What have we seen from Baylor? Limit teams to 25 to 27 points per game. I think that continues. I think Baylor gets over 32. They cover the 4 points. Put me on for official play. Baylor -4 first half.
Already wrote it down, Maxi Genius. Already wrote it down. I knew that's exactly where you were going. I see them eyes light up. I see the diamonds. Ding. Johnny, you must be loving that. Baylor -4 first half. Get out, get to a lead, and then just ease through the game.
Yeah, no, look, it looks probably it's the right way to do it. You figure they're going to snap back, bounce back, but also as a guy in my 40s, it's always nice when the game cashes at halftime because I need my rest.
Don't talk to me about rest. Do not talk to me about rest. I had a conversation over the weekend. I need rest. You know what she said? Don't be a pussy and get to work. Oh my God, I was like, my eyes had little matchsticks in my eyes. I was like, honestly, I was dreaming about college basketball. And Max, you wasn't in that dream. Okay, let's move on to the mid-majors. You love the mid-majors, boys. Idaho State getting 6.5 going into Weber State, Donnie.
Yeah, you know what? The sad part is, and I think, Max, again, sometimes we're on this platform on YouTube. We can reach out to some of these teams. Can we make Idaho great again at basketball? Both of these teams, Idaho and Idaho State, dead last in conference play. But I got to tell you, it's an 11-team conference, and the team in 9th place has 7 wins. So a very competitive conference top to bottom. But interesting to see as we head into conference tournament play, some of these maybe edges we can gain because a lot of these teams are bunched up in conference. But when we take a look at Weber State here, not a lot of tempo out of both of these teams. One team does not turn the basketball over, and that's Weber State. So if we flip it over to Idaho State side in conference play, one of the worst teams at turning the basketball over. So efficiency on offense certainly not going to be there. But the one thing you can attack, Idaho State is 5th in the conference at 34% shooting from three-point range. 10th in the conference is Weber State defending at about 37%. But I do lean on the home team. I'm going to lean on Weber State in this one just because the simple fact is, I don't see a huge edge either way, but I'm going to get more consistent offense on one side of the basketball from Weber State. That's the way I would lean in this side here.
Okay, Donnie. Max, is it a team total, under, over, or a first half play?
With this spot, this is a real interesting game coming out of the Big Sky that you'll be able to watch on the Big Sky Network tonight. I think that when you look at Idaho State, you're like, well, these guys are jamopes, you know? These guys freaking go under the bridge every night, not just 1 or 2 nights a week. But with Jared Stutzman and Chief Maker, these are guys that can do a little bit on offense. They can give you double digits. They can get on the glass. They stay on the floor. They're responsible defenders. And to be frank, they've already played this Weber State team, took them to overtime, beat them by 10. So there is definitely some home revenge at play today for Weber State. And with Weber State, we got to take notice of what this team is made up of. With a guy like Tim Fuller, he's not impressive athletically, but he does get on the low block. He'll give you some points. He gets on the glass. He'll take an elbow to the face. And I respect a guy like that. I'm a little biased towards this Weber State team, not just because of the revenge situation, not because of the value on the number, but because Cody John plays for Weber State, our GTA resident, fellow frickin' Canadian. So I got a lot of love for him, but I do think, getting back to actual capping this game instead of just giving you a profile,
in your own
Weber
time,
State's
my lad,
gonna
in your
win
own
this
time.
game. Yeah, Weber State's going to win this game. I look for this game to go over because what have we seen from these two teams over the last 10 games? The offenses have been picking up. There's been better scoring first halves. We're getting a healthy Jarek Harding, which we couldn't say for a lot of the season. And when you have a game breaker like that at home in a revenge situation, it just seems like a spot that an over is a good look, even at a 140 or 141. And Weber State to get revenge. I agree with Donnie there also.
Okay, we should have a sweep. We should all put some money in and see how many times during this show the word revenge comes on board. So educate me a little bit, please, Donnie. The revenge play. What is that all about, and how often does it come up trumps?
Well, I mean, there's no real science behind it, but it's one of those where, it's just human nature. We say, hey, this team beat us last week. Let's not let them beat them again. And here's how they effectively beat us by going down low or shooting threes. We're going to stop this. So styles make fights, and you get them usually at a chance that you play them on the road, then you get them back home. So revenge does play in a little bit in psychology, but really for the game itself, you can't, because, hey, look, Las Vegas isn't going to be there, or the offshore market's not going to be there. If we just said, hey, you know what? UNLV won last week, so this time Nevada's going to win this week. It doesn't work that way. Pick and choose between the two, but sometimes you get some good spots that you can set up.
No, I agree, because as being a sportsman myself, or an ex-sportsman, I look at it and I hear, revenge play. I always look at the other side of the coin and say, so full of confidence. We've beaten them once, we'll beat them again. No problem at all, and this time we're getting 6.5. I agree with you, though. Weber State and revenge. Okay, Bethune Cookman, plus 4.5. NC Central Is it me, Donnie, or was it only like 12 hours ago Bethune-Cookman were playing?
Yeah, exactly. So some of these games seem like they're run together because you do have the quick turnaround on Mondays here. But Bethune-Cookman, one thing we know about them, they want to go tempo. What do we know about North Carolina State? They want to slow it down. But also taking a look at both of these basketball teams, they don't really, which is, again, this is a sign of these lower-level conferences. Sometimes you don't protect the basketball as you should. But if we take a look at North Carolina Central's defense, #1 in the conference, they turned, look at every fourth possession you come down the court, they have been forcing a turnover in conference play, and just about that same number of turnovers for Bethune-Cookman. And then if you flip it over on both sides here, you're looking at a better offense for North Carolina Central, but also looking at the turnover range for them also. They turn it over about a quarter of the time on offense as well, which leads to breakouts. So if we're taking a look at one team that slows it down and turns it over, how do you speed them up? Turn it over, go on fast breaks, 2-on-1, 3-on-1, and get those layups and certainly convert at the foul line. Looking slight towards a total over in this game, but I don't have much outside of that here, Flash.
Okay, is that just basically just a lean on the over, Donnie?
Yeah.
Anything official for you, Max, in this game?
Yeah, of course. This is my creme brulee of the morning. Bethune-Cookman, baby. With Malik Maitland, Isaiah Bailey, and Latrell Pope, we know what we're going to get. We're going to get a good mix of penetration, three-point shooting, and good work on the defensive and offensive glass to get you second chance opportunities and extra possessions. What have we seen from Bethune-Cookman lately? Well, they've picked it the goddamn hell up. 5 out of the last 6 winners. We also have to take note of what's been going on with their totals. What have I come on here and said before? With totals with Bethune-Cookman in the 150s and 160s, I like to go under. Anything in the 130s to 140s, I usually like to go over. So obviously, I played to that tune there. I'm on Bethune-Cookman over 138.5. You could have checked it out on my Twitter page and got on it when I did. But in the end, I think that with this North Carolina Central team, I think that they're going to be able to score the basketball. They're going to be able to go bucket for bucket with Bethune-Cookman, because what have we seen? We've seen Ty Graves. We've seen Evan Claiborne step it up off the bench, supporting Jabari Blunt. It used to just be the Jabari Blunt show. Well, now this is a North Carolina Central Eagle team that not only is very dangerous and tough to beat at home, has won 6 of their last 7, scored 74 points or more in the last 3. Sounds like a nice spot to get on and over with a team that we've been used to cashing unders with. So I'm down with North Carolina Central. I'm waiting to hopefully get a 4 on them before I jump on them from the side, because like I said, this team is hitting some threes. They're hitting 46% of their shots from the field, and they're getting to the free throw line. What more can you ask for from a slow team that does a good job at usually playing defense?
Max, I've had a little bit of deja vu here. When did you tweet out about Bethune-Cookman?
Probably last night.
So you was in my dreams. I knew, Donnie. I said it only felt like 12 hours ago, and I'm thinking, I'm sure I know something about 12 hours ago before I went to bed. And Max was in my dreams. What a bad fault that is, Donnie. Let's quickly jump off. Let's jump off before I'm absolutely sectioned. Norfolk State giving up 9 going into Delaware State, Donnie.
Yeah, looking at this game, it's one of those, and again, you expand your horizons here, because you hear me talk about a lot about team totals and where you can find some edges out, and also make sure you check out SBRodds.com and also SportsbookReview.com. Get those books that find those numbers, because I'm looking right now in 5 dimes. We have the college extra card, and Max can appreciate it. Every single game is lined for team totals in these lower-level conferences for today. Norfolk State coming into the game, very efficient for their conference play. Shoot the three-pointer, decent at 33%. You know who doesn't defend at all? Delaware State. 9th in conference at 31% from three-point range. And also, when you take a look at two-point range, 9th in the conference at 53%. Styles make fights in this one. Now, look, we're not going to get a lot of tempo from Norfolk, but the tempo should come from Delaware State and getting shots off early, which gives us more opportunities when we take a look at Norfolk State. Also, Styles make fights. 43% volume for Norfolk State from the three-point line. That matches up well. There's 11 teams in this conference. 10th in the conference is Delaware State at allowing you to shoot the three-point shot. How about two-point distribution here? 11th in the conference, dead last, Norfolk State. Well, how about this? It's harder to score on Delaware State down low than it is from the outside. They match up well. And also when you take a look at fouls, 10th in the conference at fouling, Delaware State. Everything lines up here. If I'm looking towards a team total or a side in this game, probably leaning on the over 78 to 78.5 that we're going to get out of Norfolk State here.
So there you go. Everyone in the chat's like, come on, Donnie, we want some team totals out of you. 77, 78, we're going to go over. Max, you very seldom go with team totals, but in this state, Norfolk -9, Delaware State.
Listen, I think that Donnie's on the right path here, but I'm already highly invested in this game. I got to play on Norfolk at -9. I got the over at 147.5, I believe. And this is the issue with me with Delaware State. Delaware State loves to run up and down, loves to try to put that tempo. But sometimes these SOBs try and go and start to play zone. Well, lucky behold, we have an opponent with some shooters in Jermaine Bishop and Joe Bryan Jr. that can oblige and shoot over a zone if Delaware State chooses to employ this. What did we saw from the last time these teams played? Norfolk State put up 50-something points in the second half, hit 13 threes, got to the line like 30 times, and banged out on the offensive glass. Well, you need a similar performance and a similar type of performance to get you that cover and get me that cash. Well, I think it's going to happen. I look for Delaware State to really have trouble containing the guards, containing penetration. I think that the only thing we have to worry about is Norfolk State shutting Delaware State down defensively to the point that they can't hit 6 or 7 threes. They can't get to the line 13 to 15 times. That is my fear. But by my numbers, in which I'm trusting today more than my head and my gut, because they've been letting me down in life, I will be jumping on that over, suggesting and advocating that you guys jump on it also.
Okay, Max, it is a very, very early good morning show, but will you just open up your top and give everyone in the chat a little look at your man breasts? Basically, I want to see your T-shirt. Let's see what's on your T-shirt. There you go. Whoa, that's enough. That's enough. Come on. It's a family show. Let's not get too carried away there, Donnie. Donnie, Maryland Eastern Shore going into Howard. And Maryland Eastern Shore getting just the 2.
Yeah, I mean, look, we're looking at Howard here, and you go over their schedule game by game. Doesn't look that good. Only really one Division I victory that's actually on the card, and that was over, I believe, in Hampton. So we always get back to, and I'm an old hip-hop head, like, it's Howard, you know. Maybe we have to get back and see what's going to take place at homecoming. Maybe Biggie can come back. Maybe, you know, P. Diddy can come back and liven it up because this basketball team stinks. But then you look at the other side. What more are you getting out of Maryland Eastern Shore? 2 horrendous offenses. And also looking at the worst defense, one of the single worst defense in the country is the Howard defense. Neither one of these teams shoots all that well. The only bright spot is that Howard can shoot a little bit from three-point range. They stink. I'm taking them at home. Maybe at halftime, as I said again. Maybe P. Diddy shows up and livens up the crowd and they get a victory here. How about this? A team that never wins. I'm going to back them to win tonight.
Donnie's gone for the home side, Max. I'm looking at the under.
Yeah, with me, pretty much I'm looking at the over.
Well,
what have I seen from University of Maryland Eastern Shore? A.J. Cheeseman and Ahmad Frost have been able to score the basketball. I didn't think that was possible. Throw in Brian Eritrea, and you got a little bit of a freaking threesome of offensive scoring. When you look at Howard, frig, man, I can't remember the last time this team won a game. But I do think that they can hit 7 to 10 three-pointers at home. Mm-hmm. I think that they can make some free throws. And I know that University of Maryland Eastern Shore is going to put them on the free throw line. So I think that both these teams, while the tempo may slow down and there may be scoring droughts, I do think that points are going to get scored tonight. I think that when you look at this Maryland Eastern Shore team, they've definitely given you the complexion of a team that you can just blindly take unders with. But we've seen in conference that turnaround. We've seen it on the road. We've seen it recently. And at this time of year, I weigh games that are recent heavier than games that happened in November or December. So I took the over 140. If you can still get that number, I advise and advocate you taking it.
So is that an official?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and also in the chat, I've invited people. Obviously, we haven't got that many games today, so we might have a little bit of space at the end for a bit of a Q&A. So Donnie, Max, I hope you're up for it. I won't filter, so unless they're really obscure questions, then we will have a little Q&A at the end. Okay, North Carolina A&T against South Carolina A&T, and North Carolina are giving 1.5, Max.
Yeah, this is a spot where I'm already on North Carolina A&T. I do like the over in this game. I think that with Cam Langley and Ronald Jackson, what do you get? You go to get good inside combination that is going to be needed against the likes of Tashone Riley and Damani Applewhite. You really got to do a good job of limiting Rayshawn Neal's ability to use his vision to get the ball into good positions for his guys to get good looks at the bucket. Limiting and playing defense and bringing double teams on this guy is important. You can get him flustered, and you can force him into making some unforced turnovers. When you look at this North Carolina A&T team, well, they're getting some balance. Devin Haygood's doing a good job. This is a guy at 6'9" that does have good size and is getting you some dirty buckets. That's the kind of stuff that you need at this time of year. I think that it's going to be really important for Qua Parker to be able to use, even at his diminutive side, be able to come into the starting lineup and really be able to give you some offensive production. Well, he's been able to do so. If you continue to get balanced basketball from this North Carolina A&T team, you're going to be able to win games. Let's not get it twisted. They have not been pretty on the road, and they're going into an environment that the home team has done their job at. I think, however, when it comes down to this time of year, this is a North Carolina A&T team. While the win-loss record may not be impressive, the foundation to have success in March is, and I believe in that. My numbers like them at 3.5 points. At one point, there's 2.5 points worth of value, worthy of making a play, and I think they win this game by 5.
Wow. We like that. That looks like a very soft spot, Donnie, for North Carolina. Going into South Carolina, is this, as we'd say in soccer, a local derby?
Yeah, look, fast versus slow is what you're getting out of this. North Carolina A&T, fastest in the conference at getting shots up. Also, number 1 in the conference at not turning the basketball over, which matches up really well against South Carolina State, who doesn't force all that many turnovers. So it looks like you're going to get more shots here. A team average at shooting the three-point shot, North Carolina A&T, going up against a subpar team at defending it. Look, more things added. The one thing that you're going to have the question here is, North Carolina A&T, looking at the numbers here, they get to the free throw line at a rapid pace in conference play. But also take a look at the worst shooting team from the from the free throw line at only 60%. So if they can get there and make their free throws at higher than a 60% clip, you should get some points in this game. So if I'm looking at this, trying to break it down and say, you know what? Even though South Carolina State's going to want to slow it down a little bit, I think the tempo is going to come from North Carolina A&T. 72 doesn't seem like a bad number here. I would lean towards a team total over 72 in this one if I'm looking at North Carolina A&T here.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously, if Max thinks he's going to win by 5 and you're only giving up 1.5, then it's a no-brainer. I wouldn't even complicate it. I'd just get on North Carolina A&T. Giving up 1.5, you're getting a 3.5 points. That's massive. Moving on, Alabama A&M, Prairie View A&M, and there's 2 touchdowns in favour of the roadside. Donnie.
Yeah, if we're looking at Prairie View A&M here, they're going to bring some defense to the table in this one, and then you're not going to get a lot of offense from Alabama A&M, one of the worst teams in conference at shooting the three-point shot, one of the worst teams, if not actually the worst team, from two-point field goal percentage. Not a lot stacks up if you're looking from an Alabama A&M side, slightly towards Prairie View, just because obviously I'm getting a much better offense and a much better defense in conference play, but a little bit too heavy on the points for me.
Too heavy on the points. 2 touchdowns, Max. Does it scare you off, or you found an alternative?
Listen, from a side perspective, I don't like it. We're talking about a 7-point line evaluation increase, and I don't like that anytime. I will say that Alabama A&M, on paper, they should be able to eclipse 50 points, but I just question whether or not they're actually able to. Against Texas Southern, we really saw them succumb to not being able to guard in transition, allowing Texas Southern to dominate the glass, and then really be able to facilitate their offense in the half court with limited defense or limited effective defense. I think that we're going to see a similar situation here tonight. I think that when we look at these two teams, the only way to play this total is under. We saw that this line was about 136.5 at closing, first time that they played, and it did go under by 13.5 points. I expect Alabama A&M to have a little bit of a better time against Prairie View from a defensive point perspective than they did against Texas Southern, because when we look at Prairie View, what do? They don't shoot a lot of threes. They get to the free throw line. They rely on a lot of Antoine Lister and Devontae Patterson to penetrate and get to the glass and get second chance opportunities on offensive rebounds. I think that this game, it could be very ugly from an Alabama A&M perspective, and I think that with Prairie View A&M, we've seen that while they are dominant and fundamentally very sound, they aren't going to really blow you out every game. So I lean towards Alabama A&M, but I'm watching the number rise. But my bigger play, and the play that I'll make official, is absolutely I'll be on the under and making the official under, as well as the first half under 62.5.
So first half under 62.5. And what's the full game under?
I got 133. So
Wow.
if that line is still available, I support still taking it.
Yeah, I bet you do, because you're looking at 162. I was thinking you was going to say like 126, 127, and it comes out at 133. I'm going to stay with you, Max. Mississippi Valley State. I thought 2 touchdowns in the last game was massive, but Mississippi Valley State, 16.5 they're getting going into Grambling.
Yeah, this is a real interesting spot for me personally, because I'll be able to watch this game on Grambling's YouTube network. When you look at Grambling, this is a team that definitely can shut you down defensively, but it's really about what you're going to be able to get out of Mississippi Valley State. We know that they do have a very nice quartet of scores in Michael Green, Caleb Hunter, and Troy Simons. So I expect them to be able to score the basketball a little bit against this Grambling State defense, but it's really about what you can get offensively, which is what I'm having a little more trouble with and why I'm leaning towards the under. With Devontae Jackson, you have a great 3 or 4 guy that is slick. He can slash. He does a lot of good things defensively, but he does get into foul trouble, and that is a key part of this offense. It puts a lot of reliance on Ivy Smith Jr. and Anthony Gaston, which, to be plain and frank, the shooting accuracy has just not been there consistently on a game-to-game basis. So when it comes to trusting to lay 17 points with this Grambling team at home, I have a little bit more trouble. But I do think that they are going to be able to find their offense tonight and kibosh some of that inconsistency that we've seen offensively from them against this Mississippi Valley State defense, because they just don't have the size to contend. So I lean towards the over. I lean towards Mississippi Valley State, but I am watching this number go up, so I will not make an official play on either yet.
Well, you think it could go up above 16.5? It'll be like they'll win the game just on the spread. Donnie, I know it's a tough card. I know that tomorrow is going to be absolutely massive. So I'm going to go to the bosses after the show, and I'm going to see if we can do a 90-minute show tomorrow, obviously 9:30, and we'll go right through. Max, I can see you smiling underneath. You love talking college basketball for 90 minutes. I'm just going to wind you up and then let you go. Mississippi Valley State getting 16.5, Donnie.
Yeah, you said it's about 2 touchdowns here. Need a couple 2-point conversions. The problem is Jerry Rice left in the mid-80s here, so you're not going to be able to get that tonight. Taking a look at Grambling State, the one thing that we're going to like about this game is Grambling State does have a semblance of offense, and Mississippi State is a run-and-shoot team, one of the highest, if not the highest tempo team in the country. So even if their offense is bad, that translates to Grambling State. If I'm looking at this game, one of those where you could just cheer on, sit back if you want to watch. How about this number? 86 is a team total. Let's cheer on the team total over for Grambling, because it will be a track meet, at least on one side of the ball.
Donnie, this is the final game that we're going to look at. So obviously in the chat, just give us your questions. Ask absolutely anything, even if it's like, what was Max up to overnight? Alabama State getting 8.5 going into Texas Southern. Texas Southern, they're decent, Donnie.
Yeah, decent. So, I mean, looking at the best offense in conference play for Texas Southern, don't turn the basketball over all that much. Get to the free throw line, which is usually a recipe for scoring some points. Decent at 3-point shooting and also inside the line. Don't have a lot on this game, but if I was looking at it here, Texas Southern clearly the better basketball team in this one for me.
Yeah, I mean, clearly, even a blind man can see Texas Southern are so much better than Alabama State. But are they better by 8.5, Max?
Listen, with this Texas Southern team, they got some dirty, dirty bird revenge. They're eating their chicken tenders, they're dipping them in honey, and they're going into their gym, and they're going to smack Alabama State the way that they should have the first time these two teams met. I think that with Johnny Jones, the coach's son, he better not go 1 for 9. This team better make more than 16% of the 3-point shots, and they better do a good job of limiting turnovers. I think that they do all of this. I think that they hold Alabama State under 60 points. I think this game stays under. I think they get revenge, and I think that they cover the number.
So we've got revenge, we've got under, and Texas Southern. Do they cover the 8.5 though, Max?
Oh yeah, I like it.
That's the most
this
confident
is a number where my
ever.
lines had this at 11.5 flash. So 8.5, 3 points of value. Sign me up.
See, that's the information I'm looking at all the time. I'm trying to get you to say your number. Your number's 11.5. This is 8.5. So you're 3 points ahead already. And if you can get the 8, it's basically you're 4 points in front. And when you mention dirty chicken tenders, surely the dirty is a negative. So you're looking for barbecue.
Yeah, absolutely. Listen, you want to be sacrilegious, you want to be blasphemous, you dip those chicken tenders in barbecue. You see what comes to you. Bad karma.
Okay, so Donnie, there's no play of the day for you. POD means?
POD means passing on the flat. Look, I like to lean on this because SBR is a younger channel. Me and Flash are a little bit up there in age, so to speak. So we get that little bell curve where I need an extra day to get ready for tomorrow. So once the show ends, Flash, we're gearing up for that. And you said 90 minutes. I got to get in the gym. I got to hit the treadmill. I got to walk the dog a few times. I got to eat, get right, and take my vitamins for 90 minutes tomorrow, Flash. We got a big day tomorrow, man.
It's massive day. Max, are you loving the thought of a 90-minute show tomorrow?
No, it's needed.
I wouldn't mind doing a 3-hour show.
Sorry?
I wouldn't mind doing a 3-hour show. I got a lot to say. There's a lot of content that we can do. And listen, when you're on SBR, you're on this YouTube channel, and you're watching and following this channel, where else do you really need to go?
Okay, give me your play of the day, Max.
Listen, we didn't talk about this game. It's called the Arkansas Pine Bluff Jackson State game. It's a goddamn ugly game, but I love it. It is my play of the day game. And you know what I'm going to be going with? I'm going to be going with what's been feeding my bankroll and making this gut of mine expand. And that's taking unders with Arkansas Pine Bluff. Listen, we saw this line open at 115.5. We saw it go as high as 120.5. Well, thank you to Rebel Betting Software, because I got that 120.5. I still advocate you guys getting on at 120. I think Arkansas Pine Bluff, if they aren't the slowest team in the nation at running their offense, they are definitely one of the least efficient. I think that holds true on the road without their home gym, without their home environment, those familiar rims. Jackson State with Roland Griffin and Tristan Jarrett, that's a lethal offense. I think that they're able to win this game, but I think that Arkansas Pine Bluff also stays within the number. So plus 11.5, under 120, sign me up. Those are my 2 plays of the day. Let's lock them in.
Listen, you have been absolutely on fire today, Max. We've come to the end. I'll just give you a little rundown of some of the strong ones that have come out the boys' mouths today. Baylor -4 first half. Bethune Cookson over 138.5. And North Carolina A&T -1.5. Gentlemen, I thank you very much. If you haven't subscribed, make sure you do. Please press your thumbs up on the way out, because with the North American clocks going banzai at the weekend, we're going to be having new times. So make sure that we're able to notify you, and then you won't be turning up an hour late or an hour early. So subscribe, look after us, and we'll see you tomorrow. It should be 90 minutes, gentlemen.